Hello everyone and welcome back to another English lesson. Today then we will be moving on from looking at our adventurers and we will be looking at the protagonist, the main character of today's book, who of course is Arthur. So I'm going to read a little bit of today's work. There's not much actually to read, which is nice for me because there's lots of pictures in it because it's a graphic novel. So it said before, born long ago in a small Icelandic town, it was clear from an early age that Arthur was always going to be a bit different. Let me remove Mr. Nash's post-it notes so you can see that was our nice... Ooh, it's a daisy. There's a nice little picture of Iceland. Lovely. Stick my post-it notes back on. All my notes. So many things going on at the moment, girls and boys. As soon as he was old enough to explore the forest, he showed a great interest in the strange creatures that lived there. At night, while the townsfolk would gather around the safety of the great fire, that enormous fire in that picture, Arthur would sit and listen to Atrix, the town's wise woman. She would tell him wondrous and frightening tales about distant lands and ancient magic. And there is our two illustrations. Let's go close for the first one. There's some strange creatures in the forest. And there he is next to that enormous... Oh, my hand's in the way. The enormous fire. And he's listening to a lady... Oh, just there. Sorry, everything's back to front for me. Called Atrix, the town's wise woman. She seems to have a little black cat on her back. Very interesting. Arthur soon began to journey into the forest in search of adventures. He even started to carry with him some of the more unusual items that he found. Now, we have an illustration here today. Whoops, daisy. And we're going to focus on the people in his illustration. So I'm going to jump on, say goodbye to Mr. Nash's face, jump onto our Word document, and we're going to have a look in detail, because it's a bit better than the one I've got on there, in detail at what is going on the picture. Okie dokie, here is today's English sheet then. So, learning objective to observe, develop and create different forms of writing. And our task is going to be predict and explain what characters may be thinking. Now, here is the illustration in detail. Oops, it is. Let me just quickly hide this. We have Grandma, doesn't look too happy upstairs. A little boy who's smiling, looks very excited. The dad here who looks very grumpy. The sort of face Mr. Nash pulls when he looks into his box of chocolates and realises he's already eaten the last one. Not very happy. Mum looking very surprised. The little girl who looks just like Mum, she looks very happy. The cat in there looks like Mr. Nash at the moment. On the weekends wanting to go out and do fun things but can't really, so he sits in the window grumpily. And Arthur here looks like he's having fun. He's got a nice little stick here, strange hand, some potions, a book, a nice little hat, some strange little men down here with instruments. They look like they're having a nice time. And you're going to be predicting today what different characters think. So I put a speech bubble in. If you've got Microsoft Word at home, you can include a speech bubble. If you click on shapes and you scroll yourself down, there's the thought bubble. So you can have speech bubbles along here. And what you can do, which is very clever, don't worry if you're not on Microsoft Word, you can always do this by hand, is you can move the little yellow dot and it goes to different people. So you could say to the girl speaking, Grumpy Cat. Probably wouldn't have Arthur because we're going to be writing about Arthur today. Could be Grumpy Grandma upstairs. See if I can go up here. Yep. Grumpy Grandma upstairs, or the little boy. I'm going to focus on Dad though, because the Dad looks especially grumpy, the grumpiest of all of them. So that's going to be my main focus. Now, success criteria today, we want to use speech marks. Speech is so important, and if you can use speech correctly in your work, it will make it 10 million times better. An adverb of manner to describe how the character says or thinks things, grumpily, angrily, slowly. A description maybe of emotions, anger, frustration, bewilderment. Now bewilderment, remember, just means confused. And if we look down here, Mum looks a little bit confused. Grandma maybe is a little bit confused. Even better, if subordinate clause if possible. Arthur's dad looked on angrily, comma, as his son wandered off on another pointless adventure. All the subordinate clauses is that this clause here can stand on its own, this one cannot. Okay, so after Dad looked on angrily as his son wandered off on another pointless adventure. Now I'm looking at Dad. Dad looks very cross, but I want to include some speech in this, and I want to include some writing. So I'm going to start off with some speech. So if I'm starting with speech, I need to have 6699, new speaker, new line. So here is my 66. If you want to do this on the computer, you need to hold down Shift and press 2. Yeah, I don't know if it is on a Mac, I'm afraid. Very sorry, I've only got Windows here. So, where on earth is my son wandering off to this time? Now, Be careful here, because if you put this wandering, that is the type of wandering where you think, I wonder what's for dinner. No, wrong type of wander. Wander like this is a nice casual stroll. Where on earth is my son wandering off to this time? Don't necessarily need the comma in there. Wandering off to this time. Thought or said. I wonder what Arthur's dad is going to be called. Now, we don't really know a surname yet, do we? Arthur's. I can just say Arthur's dad thought. Or said Arthur's dad grumpily. Now, I've made a mistake here on purpose. I'll zoom in closely. What is it? Yeah. Apostrophe of possession is missing. Said Arthur's, because it belongs to Arthur. Arthur's dad grumpily. Why can he not be more like his wonderful sister? And I'm going to put an exclamation mark there and make it an exclamative sentence. Okay? Why can he not be more like his wonderful sister? Now, let's check. Is there something wrong with the punctuation? Well, it is a question. I thought it'd be exclamative sentence, but that's okay if it says it needs to be a question mark. So let's go back up to the success criteria. Arthur's dad looked on angrily. It says, okay, so maybe we could write some sentences of what's going on as well. Arthur's dad frowned with frustration. Hands at his son. His hands were planted firmly in his pockets, and his forehead bore a deep frown. I've said frown twice. Deep burrows, or deep creases, we could say, because if you look at his forehead, you know, you have sometimes people have creases in their forehead when they're frowning. Their brows go down, don't they? In his pocket, his forehead, deep burrows above his brows. Okay, I'm probably not going to write any more here. Okay, the reason is I don't want to give too much of this away for you, because if you choose the dad, I don't want you to have all the ideas. Deep burrows. Deep burrows were planted. See, Mr. Nash even has to do lots of editing sometimes, and sometimes Microsoft Word will tell Mr. Nash off. So Arthur's dad frowned with frustration at his son. His hands were planted firmly in his pockets, and his forehead bore deep burrows above his, I'll say, eyebrows. Okay? He doesn't look like a happy chappy, does he? He's got a big beard, so you could describe his dad, you could describe his emotions. Think about his eyes. Do you think Arthur's dad is wise? Do you think Arthur's dad might be grumpy? Why do you think he's grumpy? Why would he be looking at his son in this way? I wonder what job he probably wants his son to be, and I wonder what job he does. Maybe, because we know this is set in Iceland, and Iceland is covered, well, it's surrounded by an ocean. Maybe he's a fisherman, because there were lots of boats in that first picture, and maybe he wants his son to do a proper job, not become some strange explorer going off into the woods. Okay, but those are the sorts of conversations that I would like you to think about in your writing. So that is all of today's work. Try your best with this, guys. I know you'll do a fantastic job, and I look forward to seeing all of your work very soon. Thanks, guys.